We are live. We are live. We are live. We are live. My name is Tyrone Irvin. Today is Sunday. I hope everybody's having a good Sunday. Today we are here with Saliq Wayib L. Saliq is going to talk about Kwanzaa. We're going to figure out what exactly is Kwanzaa. We hear about Kwanzaa, we see images of Kwanzaa, but we don't quite all know what Kwanzaa is. So Saliq is going to come and he is going to talk about Kwanzaa. So you guys just take a second, sit back, check this out real quick, and then when we come back, we're going to get into this Kwanzaa with Saliq.
I've heard that when I write too many rhymes up in my lines so the intellect gets left behind. I heard I sound good, but I don't write good. I mean, write well, and well, hell, I've heard I wasn't ever supposed to be heard. That I'm from the South Side and I was born with a pussy, and pussies were never meant to speak, they were meant to purr. They say I got a tongue born ratchet. Say the way my tongue fixed herself to say fuck you to your God ain't ladylike. My tongue don't come trimmed. It ain't primmed and proper how a classy bitch's tongue is supposed to be. My tongue is thick. I've heard it's more oppressive than a misogynistic dick. My diction ain't no Ivy League words of choice. I've heard my voice sound like children trying to play grown up. I've heard my voice sound like women trying to play grown up. It sound like I'm bitching. It sound like I'm a woman in the world who done lost her place and wind up outside the kitchen. You supposed to listen. You supposed to be seen. You ain't supposed to be heard. I heard my voice sound like the screech of a nigga's neck coming unhinged from the lynch rope. My voice sounds like niggas singing and rapping and dancing and tapping in a hip-hop show. I sound too stupid, too poor, too black, too woman, too Charles Ramsey on Fox News, too Rachel Gentile in the courtroom, too Sweet Brown. Well, I had woke up to go get me a cold pop. Mouth stay steady, ready to pop off at anything that pop off. My tongue is a trigger click. My mind is a grenade. Boom, I stay with words that hit like bullets. My language pops a pretty packed pistol every time I preach. Every time I speak, my mouth is meant to blow you away. This is no dead fuse. This is no silence. I am not mute. I'm not meant to cookie cutter loud thoughts or carve down big speech. I don't give a flying fuckery about your comfort level. You will not chop off my tongue. You will not cut down my language or grammatically correct my ebonics. I am not hooked on your phonics. You will not claim me. You will not change me. You will not silence my screams or crack down on this truth. I am louder than this.
All right, everybody. All right, everybody. She heard her voice, and today you are about to hear the voice of Saliq Wayib L talking about Kwanzaa. And I'll be honest, Kwanzaa is something that I don't know a lot of, so this is actually going to be a treat for me. I want to thank Saliq for coming on. Saliq, let everybody know who you are and what's the premise of what we got going on today.
Peace and blessings. What's up, family? It's good to be back on Soapbox Heroes. It's been a while. I'm excited. But you can find me on Instagram at Saliq YML, Facebook as well, and on YouTube. Today we're going to have a discussion on Kwanzaa. Today is the discussion. What is Kwanzaa? So we're going to go into very great detail on what Kwanzaa is, principles of Kwanzaa, symbols of Kwanzaa, and how does it all work and the purpose, etc.
Right. So, Kwanzaa, I hear a lot of Kwanzaa. Well, actually, I don't hear too much about Kwanzaa, but I do hear, sprinklings of Kwanzaa. What exactly is the significance of Kwanzaa, and why is Kwanzaa so important?
Well, let me say this, man. Kwanzaa is important to the people here in America, which would be called African Americans, due to the fact that it was created for us. It was created for us. And the reason why it was created for us, man, so that we can celebrate our culture, history, lineage, and our own heritage. So it is an African American cultural tradition that was created for us to celebrate us. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So that's what it was intended to do, and that's what it has done since the formation of it from the 1960s.
Okay. And what gave the formation of Kwanzaa? What led up to Kwanzaa being formatted in the 1960s?
Well, it was all sprung out of the Watts riots. You know what I mean? And during that time, remember, a lot of African American people were trying to define themselves, were trying to stand up, in civil rights, and trying to stand and make a stance for equality, things like that. So, and those are also during the times where the Black Panthers and other Black nationalist groups were at in the 60s and 70s and stuff like that, that were making headlines and making waves on trying to empower the Black community. But we're going to go into those things in detail so we can, touch one piece by piece.
Okay, and before we get into it even further, I want to ask everybody, if you get a chance, take a second to share, invite a couple people. We're talking about Kwanzaa. This is something that is important to the community. Saliq is going to tell people why. So if you get a chance, share, invite a couple people, come hang out with us for a second. You see,
Yes.
I got the candles behind me. Saliq is going to explain what all this stuff means. So this might be something that you could take and you can let your kids know. Maybe it could be something that we can incorporate and start doing more of. I remember a couple months ago, a buddy of mine, his name is Troy Holloway. I'm going to have to tag him on this, and he was talking about the importance of Kwanzaa, if I'm not mistaken. So, Troy, if you get to see this, shout out to you. We're about to go ahead and get into it today. Saliq, this is your sound off. This is going to be
Yes,
your
sir.
thing. So I'm going to sit back and kind of just let you take the wheel. And if you guys can, again, like I said, invite a couple people, share a couple times, show us some support. We're talking about Kwanzaa. If you guys want us to talk about something else, maybe another day. But today we're going to go ahead and get into this.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Saliq.
No doubt.
And I'll periodically ask questions just so we could keep everything contextualized. And if you do have questions out there or comments or something that you want Saliq to answer, you go ahead and just let us know, and we'll make sure to include that in the show. Thank everybody who's here now. So go ahead, Saliq. Let us know what's going on.
Yeah. All right. I wanted to say happy Kwanzaa to everybody today. Happy Kwanzaa. Today is the 5th day of Kwanzaa. For those who didn't know, for those who do know, happy Kwanzaa. Today is Nia, which is the purpose. So to pretty much restore our culture and our purpose for building what we do and why we do what we do. So the purpose. So today is the 5th principle, which is Nia, our purpose. All right. So let's get into this, man. I wanted to. You and I were talking in the beginning of why Kwanzaa is important.
Right. Why is it? Why is it important?
And well, let's go here first. A lot of people have had the discussion on Kwanzaa. A lot of folks have misunderstood or miseducation of Kwanzaa. And what is Kwanzaa? Why is Kwanzaa for us? Who created Kwanzaa? Is it a man-made holiday? Et cetera, et cetera. But everything that we celebrate has been celebrated and created by man. Every holiday you celebrate has been created by someone. Is it a man or woman? So I wanted to just have that misnomer. I want to get that dealt with from the beginning because, even though Kwanzaa is a African American holiday here in the Americas, it was created here in the Americas for us. And so just like you have other holidays like Easter, Christmas, 4th of July, Thanksgiving, all those holidays were created by other people. You see what I'm saying? And so when this celebration of this festival, this harvest, this holiday was celebrated and created by us, for us, many people will turn an eye to it. and say it's man-made because they're not it's not connected to some religion base or some type of base like that. So just like Fourth of July was created for the independence of the United States, declaring their independence. You have Thanksgiving that was created by European colonists again in the Americas. You have Easter, you have Christmas, etc. All these days are being created by other individuals. Just like when you drive your car, the ignition is made by the car is made by some man or woman. It's engineered. Your computer system is all made by some man or woman.
Right.
So everything that we have is all man-made, all woman-made. But what
Right.
is naturally in nature that we cannot create is harvest. The trees, the oxygen from the air, the sun, the weather, grains, fruits and nutrition. These things are naturally in nature that creates itself through the science of nature. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Right.
All these things
Right.
were here before us.
Right.
But
They're,
what we can't
they're
create.
already here. There's not something that we
If-
put together.
Right. You feel me? So I want to kind of get that out there, man, so folks can just understand that when you have something that's created, yes, it's created. Everything we do, everything we celebrate is created by someone.
Right. So essentially, you're saying that just because it was created by someone, which other things that were created by someone hasn't lost its validity, Kwanzaa shouldn't lose its validity because it was made up here in the United States.
Right. It shouldn't lose its purpose. It shouldn't lose its principles. It shouldn't lose its values. You know what I'm saying? It should stand and hold the credibility as every other holiday has held up to.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
And so that's what I'm talking about. But
Okay.
let me get into the purpose of me wanting to cover this particular topic is merely because it's an opportunity to express my excitement
Mhm.
and my interest for self-determination, self-motivation, and accountability amongst the group. See, when we look at Kwanzaa is just one example that we as a people can be celebrated and uplifted as one people. You see what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
So the goal is to have knowledge of self. And that deals with our culture, that deals with our lineage, that deals with our heritage, that deals with our godhood, our greatness, our failures, right?
Right.
Our past and our present, and most importantly, our realities. You
Right.
see what I'm saying? So with this particular approach, we respect, we trust, we honor, and we love one another in hopes to advance the group.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So that's the purpose. So now let's get into what is Kwanzaa. The question of the day.
What is Kwanzaa? The question of
The
day.
question of the day. Kwanzaa is a 7-day festival, man, that is celebrated amongst the Aboriginal African American culture.
Mhm.
And it's about, it's to celebrate the culture, community, family, and history. When I say
Okay.
Aboriginal, and I use the term Aboriginal, you get a lot of people that may rebut me on that, but when I say the term Aboriginal, I'm speaking of the people of the land, the native people, autochthons, that's always been on the land. So when I say Aboriginal African Americans, which we know African American is a misnomer, I'm speaking of the Aboriginal people of the land who've always been here, that are native to the land. So when I say Aboriginal, that's exactly what I mean. All right.
Okay.
So Kwanzaa is a yearly celebration, right? That begins on December 26th. That's the first day of Kwanzaa. It's December 26th, and it goes through January 1st. All right.
Okay. How
So
many days
Kwanzaa
you
is
say it was again?
It's 7 days.
7 days. So a full week
7-day
celebration.
festival. 7-day festival. Yep, celebration. And so Kwanzaa is a celebration that has been celebrated by many families in their own unique different ways. Everyone celebrates Kwanzaa uniquely in their own way. But when you look at the Kwanzaa celebration, it has a lot of involvement of cultural songs and dance. You get the dances that happen culturally, which people will call them African dances or Native American dances. Mainly it'd be African dances, how they were explain it. Then you have the drum, a lot of playing of the drums, which you would see culturally in African drumming and stuff like that. So you have storytelling, you have poetry, you have readings, you have spoken words. You know what I'm saying? Then you have the traditional feast that takes
Okay.
place. That's very significant to Kwanzaa. So the name Kwanzaa comes from the Swahili language from Eastern Africa. Did you know that?
No, I never knew that.
Yeah. So the name Kwanzaa means first fruit.
First fruit.
And means
Okay.
first fruit. Kwanzaa
Oh,
means first fruit, and it comes from the phrase "Matunda ya Kwanzaa."
okay. And what is that?
Matunda ya
What
Kwanzaa.
what does that mean? And which fruit is the first fruit?
All right, the first fruit is the harvest of your crops. First fruits
Okay.
mean the first fruits that produce from your harvest that is eatable
Okay.
or edible. And so Matunda ya Kwanzaa means first fruit. That's an Eastern African language, and it's also spoken in other countries in Africa, which is Swahili, which you can find is spoken in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and also Zimbabwe. You
Wow.
know what I mean?
Okay.
And so Kwanzaa, let me make this very clear. Kwanzaa is not a religious holiday or a religious celebration. It is a celebration that will only honor the values of our culture, um, and is there merely to inspire the African Americans who look to move forward and forward progress amongst the group. All right.
Move forward and forward progress. What do you mean exactly? Move forward and forward progress. You mean as a
What I mean,
collective, or what?
as a collective body of people moving forward. Like you remember that saying by Bob Marley? I'm sorry, it wasn't Bob Marley. It was One Aim, One Destiny by what was that? Marcus Garvey.
No, I'm actually not familiar.
Yeah, it's One Aim, One Destiny. So that is when it says working together for forward progress and moving amongst the group. That is the collectiveness coming together.
Okay, so as a
And
collective people
so,
moving together forward in a progressive manner.
yes,
Okay.
yes. So, furthermore, let me just add this: that Kwanzaa was inspired by the Africans' first fruit celebrations because first fruit celebrations came from Africa. This is where Mr. Koringa got the idea from the first fruit celebration because it was inspired by the Africans' first fruit tradition harvest festivals that take place every year in Africa. And for an example, you have the first fruit festivals of the Yam Festival, the
Hmm.
Sakaf, the
Okay.
Panga, and the Homuwu Festival. All these are festivals that offers first fruits to the ancestors of the gods and God of those particular tribal people. So that's where Kwanzaa was inspired by
Hmm.
the first fruit celebration of Africa.
Okay.
So that's all it in a nutshell on what is Kwanzaa. It's a
Okay.
7-day festival. You see what I'm saying?
And you're celebrating moving forward. You're celebrating the first. It comes from the celebration of the first fruit, but what we're celebrating is a collective group of people progressively moving forward.
Well, what I just did was I just pretty much broke down what is Kwanzaa, how is it, what is it,
Uh-huh.
and now I'm going to get into the purpose and the principles and the symbols, which all represents the 7-day festival.
Okay, and look, before you
You know
go
what I'm
too
saying?
far, I heard you mention a Mr. Karunga. Is that
Yes, Kariga. We get
Karinga?
into that too. He's the founder of Kwanzaa. He's the one who started
Okay,
Kwanzaa. We get into that as well.
okay, go ahead and get into it. Like I said, I'm gonna sit back. I'm just trying to make sure that everybody know where we going. And like I said, I'm learning about this too. So right now I'm a student. So you know what? I got my notes. I got my pen. I'm taking notes. So I'm learning too. I'm gonna be studious and let you do your thing. Go ahead.
Peace, brother. All right, so now let's talk about the purpose. What is the
Okay.
purpose of Kwanzaa? All right, okay, I'm gonna go here. Um, First, let's understand the movement with Kwanzaa, which Kwanzaa takes the position of a Pan-Africanist ideology and philosophy. What I mean when I say ideology, I'm speaking of the need for economic and political identities. And when I speak of philosophy, I'm speaking of the fundamental thoughts of ourselves, how we view ourselves, and how the world views us. You get me?
I get you.
So Kwanzaa focuses mainly to encourage and strengthen the bonds between all people of African nativity. All right, and it's based on the belief that unity is vital for our economic, our social, and our political progress to aim for unity and upliftment of all people of African descent on the throughout the diaspora and on the continent. You see what I'm saying? So that's the purpose, and the reason why it takes that Pan-Africanist ideology, because how it was founded. And we're going to get more into that. So now moving forward to the principles that holds Kwanzaa all together, we want to talk about Karinga. Because remember, you mentioned Karinga.
Okay.
Right? And I mentioned
Right.
that in the beginning. So we want to get into who Karinga is, you know what I mean? So that we can have an understanding. So that's the purpose of Kwanzaa.
Okay.
So that's the purpose of Kwanzaa. So let's talk about Karinga. His name is, I always get kind of mixed up on how you say his first name, which is Malana Karinga.
Okay, we clear on the Karinga.
Okay. Karinga. And his name is spelled Maulana. And then Karinga. It's Karenga.
Okay.
All right. And so he was previously known as Ron Karinga. All right. So this gentleman was born in the 40s, 1940s. He was born in the 40s. And he's an African American professor of Africana studies. He's also an activist and an author. All right. Karinga was very active, man, in the 60s and the 70s in the Black Power movement. And so he also co-founded the Black Nationalist and Social Change Organization. It was called Just Us, or it was called US. All right. So Karinga is also very well studied. He studied at the Los Angeles City College. He also studied at the University of California as well. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But when he was a student in his earlier years during that time, he pretty much got involved in activism. And so he later joined the Congressional Racial Equality Group. And so when he received his PhD in the 70s, he began his career in academia. So I want to show a slide, man, so we can all see about Karinga. I want to show this slide real quick.
All right, and while you get that slide ready, you guys go ahead and slide you guys' friends a couple invites. Let them know what we got going on. Saliq is talking about Kwanzaa, letting us know the origin of Kwanzaa, what it's about, what it's for, putting out a little bit of information for your ears. So if you guys can, invite a couple people, let a couple people know. We have Saliq Wayib L, and I am Tyrone Irvin. This is Soapbox Heroes. Go ahead, whenever you got the slide, just go ahead and pop it on up.
Okay, brother, can you see me? See my slide?
Yeah, I can see you, and it's loading your presentation.
Okay.
It should be up and about right there. You go. I got you.
All right, gentlemen, I put this together, man, so that I can just go ahead and read off of the literature on Karinga. So it says in 1965, the Watts riots broke out when Karinga was a year into his doctoral studies. Karinga and the Circle of Seven established a community organization in the aftermath called US, meaning us Black people. The organization joined in several community rival programs, and was featured in press reports. Karinga cited Malcolm X's Afro-American Unity program as an influence on the U.S. organization's work. This is what he quoted. He says, Malcolm was the major African-American thinker that influenced me in terms of nationalism and Pan-Africanism. As you know, towards the end, when Malcolm is expanding his concept of Islam and of nationalism, he stresses Pan-Africanism in a particular way. And he argues that this is where we have the whole idea that cultural revolution and the need for revolution. He argues that we need a cultural revolution. He argues that we must return to Africa culturally and spiritually, even if we can't go back physically. And so that's the tremendous impact on us. That's what Karinga is saying. This is the tremendous this is where you get the Pan-Africanist and the nationalism idea was through Malcolm X. And at the bottom says, Karenga created Kwanzaa in 1966 to be the first Pan-Africanist holiday. Karenga said his goal was to give blacks an alternative to the existing holidays and give blacks an opportunity to celebrate themselves and their history rather than simply imitate the practice of the dominant society.
All right.
So I wanted to just show that, man, so everybody can, I'm gonna hold that on the screen for a second in case those folks who are still reading without me. And that's it, man.
What he got his
And
ideas are essentially Pan-Africanist. Just press the X. You should be able to go over where, or it should be able to end screen share. You should be able to scroll over it, highlight, and end your screen sharing.
All right, brother, where do I go for that one? All right. Oh, my bad. Stop sharing right there. All right.
Yeah, right
there.
Cool. Share.
Am I back on?
You back on. You back on. So he got a lot of his ideas from Pan-Africanism, and from Malcolm X toward the end. Sounds like a little bit of Marcus Garvey in there too.
It does. It does, man. It does. Because when you look at the history, you see the movement of a cultural disconnect. Because the people in here in America, the African Americans here in America who are misnomers, have lost their social political identities through acts of genocide and denationalization, which we are calling slavery. So they feel the need to reconnect to the motherland because that's where they believe that their ancestry have come from and that humanity has grown from. Mm-hmm. So their idea was to draw a connection to the motherland, even if we are not there, draw that connection. But there is a connection between Africans, Native African people in Africa and us here in the Americas. Uh-huh. There is ancestral lineage. When you look at many of the different African tribes, when I say African, I mean I'm speaking of the continent. There are many different tribe names that were involved in the transatlantic slave trade and involving themselves and mixing with the natives here. So there's a lot of intermixing going on, but that's for another discussion. But there is a connection. So they were trying to draw the connection for sure. All right.
Okay. Look, so, go ahead. And let me know too if you want to sprinkle in some questions here because you got a couple of questions and comments too. But go ahead, and I want to tell everybody that's watching, thanks for watching, and we are going to make sure that your comments and your questions are fielded, as a matter of fact. But go ahead, Saliq.
Yes, man. So now let's get into the principles, the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, and the 7 principles in Swahili is called Nguzo Saba. Nguzo Saba. So I'm going to show I'm going to show you guys a slide, and we're going to go over the 7 principles so everybody can kind of see what I'm talking about here. Make it fair. You want me to take some questions right now, or you want me to just keep flowing?
Well, here, let's go ahead and add a couple people in, and because people got comments, and since they're here, and I want to say hi to Pretty Kiki. Thanks for watching. Cynthia Ann Irvin, thanks for watching. She says, been celebrating for 10 years. That's my auntie. She also says, I seen here, she says, it's not just Africa. She also says, it's an extension of the celebration of Christmas.
Mm.
So,
okay.
Yeah, she says, go ahead.
Yeah, what I want to do is I don't want to take personal opinions on what it is because Kwanzaa is very specific and very defined in what it means and the purpose of it. So if you just coming into the video, I think that you may want to go back to the beginning of the video and watch it. Kwanzaa is not an extension of Christmas. It's not an extension of any religious or holidays. It is mainly what it is for. It's for the upliftment of culture and heritage and family and community for the said African Americans here in the Americas. What we don't want to do is get caught up in emotional ideas. We want to stay focused on what the formation was and why it is what it is moving forward.
Okay.
So to answer that question, I just left it. Yeah.
Okay. So you're gonna
all
leave
due
that
respect though.
Yeah. You're
All the
gonna
respect.
elaborate further, and so I think that question to kind of answer itself. It seems like,
Yeah, well,
Chauncey.
it already has because like I said in the beginning, it has no extension from any other holiday. We just read. I left the slide up there for a minute, so I think that question should revert back to the slide that I left up,
Right.
which was about Karinga. So you just read that, and he just tell you right there.
All right. And then we have Chauncey Young L says, and hey, Chauncey Young L says, first Thanksgiving was created by King Ferdinand and Isabella, defeating the Moorish Turks of Spain, last stronghold Grenada in 1492. Declared a day of thanksgiving for all European Christians, slaughtering, beheading, and crucifying thousands of Muslim Turks. Just saying, great job, brother. Peace. Oh, he's saying, and I'm just saying, great job, brother. Peace.
Peace,
So you,
God. Thank you for your literature too. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna look at that what you post on there, brother. Thank you, man, because everybody can see that. Peace, God.
all right, and go ahead, Saliq. Pick up where you want to pick up, and let people know what you want them to know about Kwanzaa. And I want to thank you again for coming on and explaining Kwanzaa. Go ahead, Saliq.
All right, I'm gonna share another slide, and I'm gonna go into the 7 principles of Kwanzaa because what we did right now, we just went over what is Kwanzaa. We went over the purpose of Kwanzaa, the founder of Kwanzaa, and now we're going to go into the 7 principles of Kwanzaa.
Okay.
Let me share it on my screen so we can so I can show everybody. It's better to show everybody because they get to see it, and it's more meaningful when you get to see it. Let me see it. All right, let me see. Okay, brother, can you see that?
Let's see. Yep, I can see it.
Okay, so let's talk about the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, which is Nguzo Saba. All right.
Mm-hmm.
The first principle of Kwanzaa, which is the first day, which is December 26th. The first day of Kwanzaa, the principle is unity, and it's called Umoja. Okay, and that is unity within the family, community, nation, and race of people. And so that unity, what I have there is to strive for and maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race of people. The second principle of Kwanzaa is self-determination, which is Kuji Cha Gulia. Okay? And that is being responsible for your own conduct and your own behavior. And that's to define ourselves. We get to name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves. These are the principles. And then the third day principle is collective works and responsibility, which is Ujima. That's working to help each other in our communities. And so you look at it, it's to build and maintain our communities together, make our brothers' problems and sisters' problems our problems, and we solve them all together. Okay? And so the next day, which is the fifth day, the next day, which is the fourth day of Kwanzaa, which is cooperative economics, and that is Ujama, okay? And that's working to build shops and businesses together. When you look at here, I put it in there, is to build, it's to build and maintain our own stores, shops, and other businesses, and to profit from them together. Well, this is what you call collective economics. Okay. Group economics, where we are buying and selling to each other. It can be on websites, it can be in the communities. However, this is what you call cooperative economics, group economics, so that we can share the wealth amongst ourselves. That was yesterday. So if you was out yesterday, I hope you bought at another black store online or in the communities.
Wow, I didn't know that was a tenet of Kwanzaa was buying something within the black community. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. And so today, the fifth day, which we are celebrating today, is our purpose, which is Nia. And that is the restoring of our culture, our customs, and our history. Okay? So Nia, right here, to make our collective vocational and building, or the building and development of our communities in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness, right? Because we want to get back to what we know to be great for, and that is families. You know what I'm saying? That is community building. That is wealth building. When we look at Tulsa, Oklahoma, that was wealth building. So we have greatness. We have a proud history. So we want to get back to that. So what is our purpose? And then tomorrow, which is creativity, which is kuumba. All right? And that is using our creative and our imaginations to make our communities better. Okay. So this right here says to do always as much as we can in the way we can in order to leave our communities more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited it. So we want to make it more beautiful. We want to have our communities looking beautiful, man. We don't want to have it looking like slums and garbages. We want to collectively work together and have our communities looking beautiful. So that's the 6th day. And the last day, which is the 7th day, which is faith, which is imani. That is believing in the people's family leaders, our teachers, our righteousness of our struggles. It's to believe in our hearts, in our own people, in our own parents, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of our struggles. These are the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. Each day represents these particular principles for us to have discussion on. All right? Okay. So let me close out my slide on that one, brother.
All right. And again, if you guys are watching, you guys share and invite a couple people. I'm reading some of the comments on here, and somebody's saying that I'm saying okay because I don't know. I'm saying okay because I'm listening. That's just it. And yeah, I don't know exactly what that's all about. But go ahead, Saliq.
Okay. What I want to show you guys was okay. Now let's get into now that we have discussed the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. I'm taking us through steps so that there's a full understanding on this particular celebration of this festival, this harvest. All right. Now that we went through the seven principles, let's go through the 7 symbols of Kwanzaa, because all of these things are uniquely brought together for a purpose. And as you look in your background, you have some of the principles behind you that represents Kwanzaa. Some of these principles, and we're going to get into it right now. But that's uniquely done, man. So let me just let me share a slide that I put together for the audience to see. Let me share my slide. This is very unique right here. All right. And everybody see this?
Yep.
Okay. Well, let me get this off my screen because I don't know what this is here. Okay, these are the 7 symbols of Kwanzaa. These are the 7 symbols of Kwanzaa. Okay, you have the mat. The mat is called the makeka. The makeka. The mat is very symbolic because the mat represents the foundation of our tradition and our history. Okay. This is why the mat is very sacred. Okay, and then next you have the crops, which you had in the back. You had the pineapple right there in the back. So these are the crops, and the crops is called the manzao. It's called the manzao, and these particular crops represent the traditional African harvest celebration because it shows respect to the ones who labored in order for these crops to flourish, to be what they are today. And then you have the other symbols in the picture you guys can see, which is the candle holder. The candle holder is what you call the kanara. The kanara represents the original stock of our ancestors. That kanara holds the original stock of our ancestors, which is ancestral base.
Right.
Okay. And then so on there you have what we call the candles. See the candles? The candles is what you call mashuma. The 7 candles are called mashuma. Okay. And these 7 candles represent one of the 7 principles of Kwanzaa each day. So those 7 candles represents one of the 7 principles of Kwanzaa.
Okay.
And I'm going to go into detail on that too. And so next you have the corn. And the corn is very symbolic because, well, let me say what it is. The corn is called the Mahindi or Muhindi. That's the corn. And the corn represents the Aboriginal child and their promise and their future. So this is very symbolic because each corn represents each child of the family.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And then so next you have the Unity Cup. The Unity Cup is called, bear with me on this one, Kikambe Cha Umoja. Kikambe Cha Umoja. That is the Unity Cup. That's the Unity. Don't be laughing.
No, I'm not laughing. I'm listening. Go ahead.
That's the Unity Cup. And the Unity Cup is very symbolic because that represents the first principle of Kwanzaa.
Okay.
Because it's the unity of together of sharing of that Unity Cup. And then you have, last but not least, the gifts. The gifts is is how you say it in Swahili, is sawadi. Sawadi. And those gifts represents the labor. We don't have any gifts in the photo, but the gifts that they're a gift giving on the last day. And those particular gifts represents the labor of the parents, and that is the reward to their children for their children learning and going through their life experiences, progressing. And the type of gifts that are mainly or normally given will be gifts that are very symbolic, that have cultural symbols, cultural relation, or educational relation, things that has a lot of value to it. So those type of gifts are given to the families on that last
Right.
day.
Okay. So that's what the gifts are all about.
Yes, sir. In
All right.
Kwanzaa. Yes, sir.
Okay.
You with me?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here. Like I said, I'm just listening and I'm reading the comments. I'm right here with you.
Okay. So now that we have understood all of this, so now the question would be, how does Kwanzaa work? Right? Is that your question now? How does
Right.
Kwanzaa all work?
Right.
All right. Well, as the families all come together on December 26th, which is the first day of Kwanzaa, they have all of these particular 7 symbols with them in their homes, or they have them in venues. If they hold it, because sometimes they hold them in large venues as well, or events. So these particular items are all brought to the homes or those particular events. But on the first day of Kwanzaa, which is December 26th, the person who is leading the
festival.
The festival, yeah.
Okay.
Or the person who's in charge, or the person who called it together, they will call everyone together.
Okay.
And they would do a huge greeting. Everyone would come together. They would stand up there from the front of everybody. And they would do a huge greeting. And so they will greet everybody with Habari Gani. Habari Gani means what's happening in Swahili. And so what happens is everyone in the audience will respond with the first principle of Kwanzaa, because that's the first day. So every day you get to introduce Habari Gani with that principle of the day. So Habari Gani, and so the first day of Kwanzaa will be Umoja. So everyone in the audience will greet the leader or speaker with Umoja, as he say Habari Gani. What's happening? Everyone says Umoja, which is unity. You see what I'm saying? And so so it goes on like that. Each day has its day. So when we look at the second day, so we all gather in and we would say Habari Gani. Everyone would say Kuji Jagulia.
Yeah, I couldn't say it that easily. Okay. Okay.
And the third day happens and everybody come together and we say Habari Gani, like what's happening, and everybody would say Ujima, which is collective works and responsibility. And the next day, the fourth day, we get together and everyone would say Habari Gani, and everybody would say Ujama, you know what I'm saying, which is cooperative economics. So every day it represents a principle. You with me?
I'm with you. So every day represents something else, a different principle, a different stature, and so every day of Kwanzaa. So every day has its own individual meaning, and so every day is like its own different celebration. And what it's sounding like to me is a lot of it is unity. It sounds like a big call for unity is what I'm getting out of it.
Yes, sir. It is. It is. And so what happens next after everybody does the whole, Habari Gani and Umoja and the principal thing,
Uh-huh.
someone leads in a prayer
Okay.
meditation, and everyone begins to recite for unity. You're right, because everyone gets to
Mm-hmm.
say unity, but they say Harambe. Harambe means let's pull together. So
Okay.
when they are citing in their prayer, they will say Harambe, Harambe, because everyone is trying to pull together for unity. So you're right, brother. It is about the unity.
Okay.
All right. And so what happens next after that is what they call the liberation. The liberation is performed by an elder or older individual who is leading the group, and they normally choose one of the children, one of the
Uh-huh.
younger children. And one of the
Okay.
younger children is the one who lights the first candle. And that first candle is the center candle, which is the unity candle.
Right.
All right. And so that candle is lit on the Kanara, which we see the Kanara in the picture. We see the Kanara. And then we have the seven candles, which is Mishuma. The seven
Okay.
candles are placed in there. So the young child gets to light the first candle. And that's family unity and bringing it together. So that first candle is lit by the younger child of the family.
Right.
All
Okay.
right. And so um, and so what happens is after that, the group pretty much discusses the meaning of that day. Everyone had a discussion on what is unity, et cetera, et cetera. What is self-determination, all those type of things. So everyday principle, everyone participates in telling a story. They have songs, they do dances, they do poetry, spoken word. Every day is built on that principle, and they talk and they discuss that principle. So
Right.
so on the day of the feast, which is December 31st of Kwanzaa, December 31st is tomorrow actually, is the day of the feast. And that feast is normally held in the evening time. You know what I mean? So they do a lot of praying and celebrations of our history and our culture and things of that nature. And then
Right.
on January 1st, which would be the last day of Kwanzaa, and that's the time for reflecting, you know, both individually and as a group together collectively. So people get to really much talk to them, ask themselves or talk amongst the group about who are they? You know what I'm saying? Question themselves, who am I? Or, am I who I say I am? Or
Okay.
am I doing what I say I'm doing? And things like that. So, um, and so then at that day, the final candle was lit. Um, on that day. And so that time, all of the candles are lit, which is very symbolic, and the candles represent a flame of energy. And so when you
Okay.
have the seven candles burning all together, that is a unified collective work of everything togetherness, burning in high frequency energy. All right.
Okay.
So those are the seven. So those are so that's what Kwanzaa is all about. But normally, how you would look at a feast, normally what happens is that you have an introduction and a welcoming by different types of music and different things are going on. So you have dance and poetry. So it's like a concert, or it's like it's entertaining. So it's not like you come in and everyone's born. You really involve yourself with the introduction of certain things. But this is the day of the feast. So they kind of go like that. And then you have cultural reflection taking place when folks get to talk about the culture and things that happen and things that are going on and things like that. And then you would get someone that would normally do like a speech and would talk about certain things, normally like a guest speaker or something like that.
Hmm.
And then from there, you would have the Unity Cup, um, different things like that, man. So it just goes on like that, and then the food they all bring, which we have, which you see in the picture here. These are like the crops and first fruits that are namely at the homes. But people bring stuff, man, like a lot of South African dishes or Caribbean dishes. You get like fried okra. People
Really?
bring goat curry or goat meat and chicken if they eat that. Black bean soup. Um,
Okay.
Gumbo, all different types of things, man. But everything is placed on this large makika, which we
Okay.
know as the mat. So everything is placed there. So it's kind of like a cultural feast, man. Like everybody's kind of digging in, man, having a really, really good
Okay.
time and celebrating, man. So uh, that's it in a nutshell.
And
Uh,
that's the seventh day that you have the
that's
feast.
no, that's the sixth day, which is
This.
December 31st.
Tomorrow. So tomorrow's the day for the feast.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right. So that's it. I mean, in a nutshell. But I'm gonna close it out with the candles because now we want to understand how these candles really work, right? Do you want if I leave my slide up? Should I take it down? Can you see me?
I can see you. I can see you small. Matter of fact, you should take it down so we can see you totally.
Okay. All right.
All right. Go ahead.
So I'm gonna go ahead and just cover. Let me just go ahead and cover, man, the 7 candles right quick. You got anything on your mind before I go and cover this last piece?
No, go ahead. What we could do is if there's any comments or any further questions at the end, we'll just take the comments at the end, and we'll do it like that. So go ahead and encapsulize what you want to talk about.
All right, man. So how does this whole candle burning works? Okay. How does a candle burning works? Okay. The official colors of I got my leg popped up. The official colors of Kwanzaa is what? Did anybody know? Do you know the official colors of Kwanzaa?
I would guess green, black, and red.
Correct. Yep.
All right.
Black, red, and green. Those are the official colors of Kwanzaa.
All right.
These colors have a very significance to the Africans. And they were later introduced to the African Americans. Do you know by who?
No, who?
A black nationalist leader.
Who? Garvey?
Marcus Garvey.
All right.
Yep. By Marcus Garvey. And that was during the early 20th century. All right.
Okay.
So Marcus Garvey introduced that. So as far as the colors are concerned, because
I'm doing good on this test.
Yeah, no doubt. And so these 7 candles are placed inside of the Kanara. Okay. These 7 candles, which you all know, called the Mashuma. So these 7 candles are placed inside of the Kanara every day. And so in the center, which you guys saw in the last picture, was the black candle. The black candle was always in the center of the Kanara. And that black candle represents us as a people.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the first principle of unity, which is emoja. All right. And then to the left, which you guys saw in the picture, to the left are your 3 red candles, which represents the blood. It represents our struggle for good. It also represents the principles of self-determination, collective works, and responsibility. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And also not only just to add to that, but and cooperative economics as well. So those 3 red candles represents those 3 main principles, or those 3 principles. Right. And so and then you have the candles to the left, which you have, remember we saw in the picture, you have your 3 green candles to the left. And those candles represent our hope, our promise, and our future. And they also represent the principle of creativity, purpose, and faith.
Right.
So each one of those candles are burned that day, representing that principle.
Right. Okay.
And so, so in closing, I would just say that this is something for us to look forward to, because it was a celebration that was created for us. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So we can become more in love with ourselves.
Right.
This holiday was created for us, man, and everything that we have come in contact with has been created by someone. But this is very unique, because even though there are other holidays that have been celebrated, this one is for us.
Right.
And I think that.
I was going to ask you too. No, go ahead. I was just going to ask you too about when you say us, it's about the to be frank, the black people, the African Americans. Is it with the connection of the people in Africa, or is it just for the people, the African Americans?
This celebration is for the African Americans. Many people will argue and say that, well, Africans in the motherland or other places, they don't celebrate Kwanzaa. Well, some places they do. In the Caribbean, South America, different places, Kwanzaa is celebrated. Kwanzaa is celebrated by millions of people. But remember, the idea of the first fruit celebration came from the harvest festivals that takes place over in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first fruit celebration, which I mentioned earlier in the power slides. So or my presentation, so that we can have a understanding that these first fruit celebrations was a thought of Karinga having something that we can celebrate that is culturally ours.
Okay.
And remember, it was to draw solidarity between people of African nativity on the continent and throughout the diaspora. It's for us to have liberation for our economic, social, and political ramifications, for us to have group success. And anytime we talk about doing anything together, which is Pan-Africanism, or nationalism, is if I do business with someone in Tanzania, that's nationalism, Pan-Africanism. If I do business with someone over in South America, that's Pan-Africanism, that's nationalism. If we do some business with someone or buy products, or we put a movement together with someone in Jamaica and we work together here in Americas, that's nationalism, that's Pan-Africanism. That's a connection. You see what I'm saying?
Okay. That's group economics.
Group economics, that is collective works and responsibilities, that is unity, that is and also too self-determination, for us to name ourselves, get to speak for ourselves and say what's best for ourselves. You know what I'm saying? We have that right. We have that right to have self-determination. So all those principles represent something for us to stand up and to be empowered.
Right. Okay. I got it. I feel like I know a lot more about Kwanzaa than I did coming into this. Like I said, I actually honestly didn't know anything about Kwanzaa. And anybody, if you have any questions or anything that he is saying, I would submit that you go out and do your own research. A lot of the reason that Saliq wants to come on and do this is so he could put the buzz in your ear. So if you don't think what he's saying is 100% correct, you can feel free to go look at it yourself. That's the beauty of all this. Go ahead, Saliq. Was there something else you wanted to add on?
No, man. I think that was it. I think we pretty much touched on it, man. We talked about the purpose of coming together and having this discussion. We talked about what is Kwanzaa and its origins. We talked about the other festivals that take place, which took the idea from the Yam, the Saka, the Pango, the Homou. All those are festivals that take place, and these were festivals that were the principles. I mean, they were. Karinga saw these and said, "Man, you know what? That is great. I'm taking the concept of this movement and I'm creating one here in America." So that was beautiful, man. So and so moving forward, but just understanding the ideology and philosophy, man, which we talked about, was the economic and political identities of the people here. Because remember, I said the African Americans have lost their social political identity through acts of genocide and denationalization, which we are calling slavery. See what I'm saying? So all of this has a meaning, man, to rename yourself, to redefine who we are and what we are. And then when you talk about the philosophy, which is our thoughts of ourselves and how we view ourselves, and then more importantly is how the world will view us. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so moving forward into that, man, so we covered the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, which is Nguzo Saba. What else did we cover? The symbols.
Yeah, we covered the symbols. We also we covered the inventor of Kwanzaa. We covered the encapsulation of Kwanzaa, what Kwanzaa means. We covered that Kwanzaa isn't a religious. It's not tied to a religion. We covered that Kwanzaa is a lot about unity. We covered that there's 7 different days in Kwanzaa, and each different day has its own different meaning. We learned. See, I really was over here taking notes. We learned that a lot of Kwanzaa stems from like Garveyites, from the thoughts of Garvey and Malcolm X and Pan-Africanism,
nationalism.
Nationalism. What we learned, something that I learned is the 6th day is a day to go out and shop with somebody of your own hue, I guess, from your own diaspora.
The 4th day.
The 4th day from the African diaspora. I learned that the 1st day that one of the younger kids come and they light the Kwanzaa candle. And so that's what I've learned. If anybody else out there could go over anything that I forgot that we learned from Saliq today on Kwanzaa, I would ask that you please feel kindly enough to remind me. What else? Did I forget anything, Saliq?
Nah, that was it, man. We made it very clear that Kwanzaa is not a religious holiday or a celebration of any type of any other types of celebrations. It is merely a celebration that will honor the values of our culture, and it is there to inspire the African Americans who look forward to move in forward progress amongst the group together. So that's what I wanted to say again. And everybody that's listening on the show, I respect your comments, and I look to grow as I read the comments. I look to grow with you because I'm about education and I'm about knowledge and living in wisdom. And also, too, not only that, but I'm a student of learning. So as I present information or as I present myself to be a teacher, I'm also a student. And I learned that being a student of everything every day, you would continue to learn and progress, man. So I am a student of learning. I'm never too overlearned. So feel free, please, to have comments and that we can grow together. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And love and respect.
There's something I want to say too. On these particular segments, this is a sound off, and Saliq wanted to come on and talk about Kwanzaa. And so him wanting to come on and talk about Kwanzaa, he's not saying that, and whenever we do these, I don't think that the person's coming on saying that they're the end all be all word on the situation. What they're trying to do is build a dialogue. They're trying to give information, and at the same time, you can always take that information and you could go cross-reference that information and come up with your own thoughts. The idea, though, is getting out information for people to understand and put a spark in you to go figure it out. It might be something you agree with. It may not. But my job here on the Sound Off is not to combat with this person and try to prove a person wrong every 2 seconds. I'm here to listen. I'm here to help spread whatever he wanted to hear. And I do the same thing. When I get done, when I turn off the camera, I go open the book. I open up some websites and I cross-reference these things for myself. So, Saliq, I want to thank you for coming on and giving everybody the definition of Kwanzaa, teaching us about Kwanzaa, giving us things to go learn about, because I, for one, did not have a clue. And I'm just being honest. There's a lot of things that I just didn't know. Let me ask you that. How come so many black people aren't up to breast on Kwanzaa?
Man, I wouldn't know the full answer. I would just take the position to say that a lot of folks don't know what Kwanzaa is. Remember, Kwanzaa was very prominent in the 60s and the 70s. And so late as the 80s babies came along, if we wasn't brought up in that particular culture or way of thought and teaching, then we missed that. We missed it. And so we are coming into it, like Johnny come lately. You know what I mean? And some of the families didn't hold the traditions or the cultural celebrations together. And they kind of let it go. And so they continue to take the place of other holidays and rather celebrate those things. But it's coming back, and many people are celebrating Kwanzaa. You know what I'm saying? Millions of people celebrate Kwanzaa every year. Is that we just need to have a re-education here in where we are in other places so that we can continue to celebrate. And let me just be clear, man, when I say African Americans, I say African Americans because that's the terminology that many people here in America identify as. But Kwanzaa is celebrated amongst all Native groups. And right. African Americans are Native groups of people too, but just don't have an identity. You know what I'm saying? So
are you responding to Cynthia Ann Irvin's comments?
Yeah, I saw one that says that something about African Americans. So yeah. I just want to
wait before you go too far. She said you're having a monologue, and since you're responding to her question, that makes that a dialogue. Since I'm asking you questions and you're responding, that also makes it a dialogue. She can also go and talk to somebody else about it, like she's doing with us online, and that makes it a dialogue. So it's not quite a monologue. But go ahead.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say that when we get into civics. We must understand terminologies and law and things of that nature. But like I said, Kwanzaa is celebrated amongst millions throughout the continent: South America, Central America, North America, and so on, etc. So yeah, man, that's all in a nutshell, man. I don't see many of the comments because my phone is down here, but
I just seen them
like,
pop up.
I love having a dialogue. This is okay.
Well, because I guess I said that you come on to start dialogue, and she said you're not having a dialogue, you're having a monologue because there's things that she
Okay.
don't quite agree with. But I'm saying
Okay.
it's a dialogue. I said you're trying to start dialogue, which we are obviously doing. And so, hey, we Saliq on this inbox Saliq. You might want to go through the comments and have a conversation and
Yeah.
see if you guys could clear up some things because like I said, this is about edification, education, letting people know we are not always going to agree, but the conversation can be had. And if anybody on here have something that they want to say, you are welcome to come on and say it. I am not here to prove you wrong. I'm going to try to find that out for myself after. This is a platform for people to be able to say the things that they feel are important. I know Saliq thought that this was important. He thinks that is important. I think it's important as well because it's something that I learned. Saliq, let everybody know where they could find you, where they could contact you, where they could see your work. Go ahead and give them the rundown.
Peace and blessings, family. Y'all can find me here on Facebook, Saliq Wayib L. I have two channels. Actually, I have a like page that is set up under the same name, different photo, and I also have the community page, which is a personal page, same name, different photo, and then on Instagram, Saliq Wayib L, and then on YouTube at Saliq Wayib L as well. So stay tuned. I have much more to discuss on different topics on the YouTube videos that I'm working on right now on a nice we call a little it's a presentation. It's another one of those can't remember the name of it right now, but I'm putting together video, a documentary, I should say.
Okay, so you're putting together a documentary. What is it
Yes,
about?
sir. I don't want to.
You don't want to disclose that at this point. So, are you gonna come and let us know when you drop your documentary? You know we're gonna want to talk about it. We're gonna want to find out about it.
We're definitely gonna come on Soapbox Hero and talk about it. Definitely gonna come on Soapbox Heroes and talk about it, man. It's always a pleasure coming on to the show. Not only that, man. Just doing a lot of work. I've been doing a lot of work, a lot of studying, a lot of putting in work, man. So when you are not putting in work, you definitely can see a difference. So when you put in the work, man, you can see you can see the different things happening, man. But I'm looking forward to build, man. I'll get back on here again next week or so. I got some other stuff to talk about.
All right, everybody. I want to thank Saliq Wayib L, Cynthia, and Irvin. I want to thank you for watching, even though you wanted to argue about nothing. Karina Irvin, I want to thank you for watching. OJ Hackett, I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank everybody for watching. If you guys can share. Let a couple people know what we got going. And hey, if there is anything that you have on your mind, you have on your chest, you have on your heart, and you want to let it out, come to Soapbox Heroes, do a sound off. Like I said, you'll have a platform to do it from. You'll have it moderated. If you want to take questions, you can take questions. I'm here to be respectful. I am not here to prove you wrong. If you want to see a debate, tune in on Wednesday. This Wednesday, we are debating and talking about culture vultures. On Wednesdays, if you want to argue, if you want to go back and forth and you want to put your 2 cents in, Wednesday is the best day to do it. So I want to thank you guys for watching. This is Soapbox Heroes. Hold on, listen to this. This is important. Take this home with you.
Dear eyes, there are things I don't tell you. We both know you are terrible at keeping secrets. Dear brain, you're a good listener, but you give horrible relationship advice. Dear heart, I trust you. Don't fuck this up. Dear legs, walking is easy. Now pick a destination. Dear feet, some days you are all I have left to stand on. Dear hands, I get it. You like writing poetry, but come on, you can't bring a metaphor to a fist fight, dear fist. You are not always the solution to my problems. Dear voice, it is your job to make sure that my fists never have to solve my problems. Dear voice, the people are listening. I'm going to close my eyes and let you take over. Say something worth remembering.